Welcome to Hope is Here, bringing hope to those struggling with life's difficult situations.
Welcome to Hope is Here. My name is GregJHorn, and it is definitely right in the hot summer of baseball season. People think of baseball and love baseball, and such a great time to follow baseball teams. And join us today is a Kentuckian that spent a time of 12 years in the major leagues, a fellow Eastern Kentuckian. My dad grew up in Inez, and our guest today grew up in Paintsville, Kentucky. Johnnie LeMaster is going to be our guest today, and we're going to talk some about his professional sports career as a professional baseball player, but he also has a wonderful ministry. He's got a video podcast called A Shortstop with a Shortstop. He's done over 100 programs with that. That's really, really good nuggets of wisdom for you as a follower of Jesus, and we're going to hear more about that in our second program with him on Thursday. But Johnny, first of all, thanks for being with us on Hope is Here today.
It's my pleasure, big guy. Been trying to get on here for a while, I believe. Now we finally made it.
It has been a little bit of a challenge when your schedule, and then I was under the weather in my schedule, but thankfully our friend Bruce Ham, our mutual friend, got us connected, and I've always had a special heart for Eastern Kentucky, as I shared with my dad growing up in Inez, and you grew up in the Paintsville area, and you tell us a little bit about your childhood, and did you always kind of like sports even as a kid?
Oh, I did. I grew up on the park and playground here at Paintsville. It was the only baseball field in town, but we had a basketball court over there and a tennis court and a big swimming pool, and it was just I had $1 million front yard back in the 60s, if that makes any sense to you. But whatever sport was in season, we were playing. And I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Sandlot or not, but that was the actual life that I lived.
Well, that is a great movie. In fact, I was just talking on July 4th with a couple of friends about that movie, and obviously, baseball was a sport that you played professionally, but did you play other sports in high school also?
I did. I lettered 5 years in basketball, 5 years in football, and I also lettered 5 years in golf. But we didn't have a track team, or I'd have probably ran track also.
So whatever the season was, you were playing that sport.
We were playing. We were a small school, so if you were a boy in high school or even in grade school, whatever, you were expected to play.
Well, from doing a little research preparing for our program, sounds like you were a pretty good basketball player, averaging over 20 points a game, good golfer, but you wind up, how did you decide to play baseball as your main sport?
Well, I grew up on the baseball field. It was just right out my front door, and when the big guys were playing and I was still in my diapers, I wanted to be a bat boy and everything like that. And even during the winter in the big swimming pool, when it was drained, we would have our wiffle ball and wiffle bats out, and we'd be playing wiffle ball down there actually inside the pool. It was that big of a pool. It was kind of tough coming at the home plate because it was about 20 feet deep. So, but it was fun, but baseball has been my first love.
Well, tell us what that was like for you getting your name announced in the baseball draft.
Well, it was in the first week of June. I think it was June the 2nd. I'm not positive of the exact date. But the guy that owns the newspaper here, the Paintsville Herald, his name was Bud Perry. He saw it come across his AP wire, and then he came and told me. And, to be the Giants' #1 draft choice and the 6th person taken in the whole nation, well, not just the United States, because they draft all over the world. And to be that 6th person taken, it made you feel pretty daggone good, to be honest with you.
Well, I can only imagine what that would be like, and to do that and be 6th in the whole country. So talk about, did you go to the minor leagues for a while, or just share a little bit about the process and next step there for you after obviously just a great honor being the 6th player picked in the whole major league draft?
Yeah, it was about 2 days after I signed my contract. They put me on a flight to Phoenix, Arizona, where we had a 2-week spring training. And then it was like, I think the 16th or 17th of June, what they call rookie ball. We went to Great Falls, Montana, and I played my first season, what they call a half season for the guys that are just graduating high school or getting out of college or got drafted out of college. They just finished up their season also. We went to Great Falls, Montana. After that, I went to what they call instructional league. During October and November, we played up until Thanksgiving. And then the next year, I started out in Decatur, Illinois, which was a A team, single A. And halfway through that season, they called me up to a higher A ball team in Fresno, California. We ended up winning the California League that year. And then in the next year, 1975, I skipped Double A completely, and they sent me to Triple A in Phoenix, Arizona. And fortunately, I was the MVP of that team and made the All-Star team, the Pacific Coast League All-Star team. At the end of that season, what they call a few people up to the big leagues. They called me up September the 2nd of 1975, and I ended up getting my first bat and hitting an inside the park home run off of good old Don Sutton, the guy that's in the Hall of Fame. And then it kind of went on from there, being in the big. I got set down one other time, I think in 76 or 77, and then 78 on, I was in the big leagues all the time.
Well, what an incredible experience at first inside the park and run. At the time, you were only the 3rd player in Major League history to do that in your first at bat. So you're probably thinking, "Oh man, this game's pretty easy, right?"
Well, yeah, you should have been there. It's a story in itself. I wasn't even in the starting lineup. Chris Spire was the shortstop there at the time. We just flew in that morning, the ones that got called up. We'd finished our last game of the season in Tucson that night and had to catch a flight out of Tucson, Arizona into San Francisco. We get in about 12 o'clock. Game starts at 1. So by the time we get to the ballpark and get our uniform issued to us and everything like that, the game's getting ready to start. And I'm thinking, hey, I get to go out here and watch a big league baseball game actually from the dugout. I was just so excited just to be able to go out and thinking I was going to watch a game. But Chris Spire, in his first at bat, he pulled a hamstring going down the first base line, trying to beat out a base hit. And I thought sure that the manager would have hollered at one of the utility infielders that had been there all year. But he said, "LeMaster, get your glove and get in there." I didn't even have my shoes tied. Some of my teammates had my glove on me. By the time I got out to shortstop, the pitcher had already warmed up. I don't even get to make a couple of throws over to first base. So I'm going at it cold turkey, but fortunately nobody hit me a ball that inning. But it finally came around to my turn at bat, and Don Sutton, I don't know whether you've ever seen him pitch or not, watched him on YouTube or anything, but he had the best curveball in the big leagues at that time. And first pitch, he throws me a curveball, and I swing at it, and I miss it by about 2 feet. And there's a guy right behind home plate. He's got a Dodger hat on. And he's after I take that first swing, he said, "Hey, LeMaster, this is the big leagues." And I'm thinking to myself, you ain't just a kid, and what kind of a curveball did I just look at? But Sutton, the second pitch, he throws me another curveball. And I miss it by about 3 feet. And that guy back there with the Dodger hat is screaming again, "Hey, LeMaster, this is the big leagues." So I don't know. Sutton was trying to get a pitch in on me to try to set up the curveball again, but he threw a fastball and got it kind of over the plate. And there was a guy on second base. His name was Vaughn Joshua. But I hit a line drive right to center field. Center fielder's coming in to try to catch it on one hop, but it hit a seam in the AstroTurf and bounced about 15 feet over top of his head and rolled all the way to center field wall. and I crossed the plate standing up. Didn't have to slide or anything. It's probably the fastest I ever ran in my life because I was scared to death. But being in the big leagues first day and not knowing what in the world is going on, there's 50,000 people in the stands because that Giants-Dodgers rivalry, you know, it's always sold out all the time. But I wanted to say something to that guy back there with the hat on, but I didn't. I just kept on going. I was a hat butt. That was my welcome to the big leagues right there.
Wow. That is so cool, and I definitely do remember Don Sutton well. So, well, talk to us a little bit about your spiritual journey, how, you know, becoming a person of faith, was that a part of your life as a kid, or just share a little bit about your faith journey?
Okay. Well, I started dating my wife. We started dating in the 8th grade. When she was a senior, she became a Christian. I didn't, but she was so adamant on trying to do what God wanted her to do that it had a big effect on me, and that we had a child, and I was getting ready to go pick up some of our ironing that had done during the off season one time. It was 1979, and I got hit head on by a drunk driver, and coming across a bridge. And after I got home that night, my head hit the windshield. I had a big hole in the top of my head. I didn't go to the hospital or anything, but I knew the guy that hit me because he's from here. Everybody knows everybody here in Paintsville. I got out of the car to see if he was okay, and he was driving one of them 1962 Chevrolet trucks that was built like a tank, but he still thought he was driving. And he said, "Hey, Johnny, what are you doing here?" He didn't even know he'd been in a wreck. But after that, I had an awakening. I said I could have been killed. I could have had my wife in here. I could have had my kid in here. There could have been some really bad things happen. I need to get my life in order with God. And so on February the 20th, 1979, at midnight, I called the preacher and I said, I'm ready to obey the gospel and do what the Bible says. And I confessed Jesus Christ as the Son of God, and I was baptized at midnight. There was 4 inches of snow on the ground, and the water that I got into that I was baptized in was freezing cold, but I didn't care. I wanted my sins forgiven, and when I went down into that water and when I came back up, I knew I was white as snow. And from that day on, I've tried to do my best as being a Christian that I could be, to be the example. Went to back to playing baseball in 79, and a lot of guys made fun of me where I didn't cuss anymore, didn't drink beer anymore, didn't do a lot of things that your everyday people that are not Christians do. But as time went on, when some of the guys on the team had spiritual questions or biblical questions, who do you think they went to? They came to me. And I would do my best to open the Bible up, and I said, let's find out what God says about whatever kind of question that you got. And eventually I was able to baptize one of my teammates and his wife, and one of our trainers and his wife. And then when I moved back to Paintsville, I became a deacon for a while in the congregation. And then when I was 40 years old, they asked me to become an elder, and I told them I thought I was too young. And then I turned 41, and then they asked me again. I've been an elder in the congregation here for 29 years now. If people don't understand what an elder is, they can look at 1 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 7. It'll give you qualifications for what an elder in the congregation is. And since then, I've been doing a lot of missionary work also. I go to Africa, I go to India, I go to Greece, I go to the country of Panama. And
Johnny, hold that thought there, man. I hate to interrupt you, but unfortunately we're out of time. But the good news is Johnny's going to be back with us tomorrow, so I hope you'll join us again tomorrow. For Johnnie LeMaster, I'm GregJHorn. We will see you tomorrow on Hope is Here.
Thank you for listening to Hope is Here podcast. To listen to one of our previous programs or to make a tax-deductible donation, please go to our website, hopeishere.today. That's hopeishere.today.